Hello and welcome back to the Truth Doctor Show. My name is Dr. Courtney Tracy. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a doctor of clinical psychology in California. I missed you last week. I'm so sorry we didn't come out with an episode, but this week you have a double episode. I have no idea where this show is going to take us now that Joel is gone. Obviously, Ellie is going to be looking for her revenge. I feel like Abby is going to be hiding. And I wonder what Gail has to say about all of this. Let's get into it.
Give Sarah my love.
That felt like such an important moment to make, because when someone dies, whether it is by their own hand or by their own consequences, there tends to be this moment where people pause and they reflect on the pain that that person ultimately carried. And everyone knew the story of Joel.
It's okay. You're in the hospital.
Yeah, her mind brought her right back to where she was before she passed out.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I should have talked to him.
You didn't say anything.
But I didn't. Your final moment with someone doesn't define your whole time with them.
Ellie saying that your last moments with someone should not define your entire relationship with them is valid, but Gail's also correct in saying that it often does, and that regret can often live there if it isn't the best type of moment that you can imagine. I didn't even anticipate that that was going to be their last moment, but you could tell that it was such a critical moment where the emotions were there, which meant that the potential for correction and repair was there. But she couldn't take it. She wasn't ready. And sometimes that has to do with maturity. Defense mechanisms aren't the only thing that we want to mature. What we also want to mature is our understanding of life. And in the world that they live in, life and death means something very different than they do to me and you living on this planet that we live on today. Death can happen so much faster. Life likely is far more difficult when it comes to what medical advances they're still able to maintain for these babies that they keep showing.
I guess I'll have to let myself off the hook for that.
Everyone were as healthy as you. What would I do for weed and booze?
I wouldn't
Gail
worry,
knows
Gail.
it's
There's still a
bullshit.
lot of fucked up people in this town.
Ellie probably knows about why Joel had to kill Eugene, Gail's husband. I don't know why Joel had to kill Eugene, but it sounds like Ellie just doesn't quite take Gail's perspective seriously. And I feel like obviously we can take the factor that she's a therapist, a much older therapist who does not know the truth about Ellie and Joel's relationship. And so her commentary just doesn't really mean much. And I really don't hold it against Ellie to have this defense. There's no rapport. There is no relationship, trust, or understanding between Gail and Ellie. Gail wants there to be. She wants her profession to be enough for Ellie to trust her. But in what way is that possible? Ellie is just not that type of individual. And they both have a mutual understanding that therapy isn't going to get Ellie anywhere right now. Ellie doesn't know how to feel emotion. The world that she lives in, her upbringing, did not give her room for emotion. She grew up in a military academy, experienced trauma extremely young, and if she let those types of emotions show, she could have gotten herself killed. The emotions of anger, of defense, of resentment, of anxiety make a lot more sense in the world of The Last of Us than love, grief, sadness. Those things slow the body, brain, and mind down. And in a world like The Last of Us, thinking and feeling quickly is far more sustainable. It is far more defensible. It is far more likely to keep you alive.
Okay, let's start with names.
Or with the braid.
Abby.
ULF. Wolf.
Who else knows?
Just us.
You can see Ellie jump at the idea that she could have gotten her revenge sooner. But Dina, being sort of outside of the emotions that Ellie has about Joel in her own way, was able to make the best decision for Ellie. It obviously sounds like Ellie was not doing well physically, that if she would have found out about this opportunity, she would have ripped tubes out of her body. So obviously people around Ellie were trying to protect her to get her into the best state. And Dina wasn't too far off when it comes to logic, saying that if you know where people are going to be, then you might as well wait until they get there, because then you can take the best course of action and have the best strategy. And Ellie seemed to respect that. She definitely thinks more strategically than emotionally. And when I'm saying that, that sounds so not true at all. But she does think more strategically. She just doesn't understand that her emotions are ultimately what lead her strategy. And I would argue that Joel had the same problem.
I gotta think about this.
Let's fucking get these guys.
But if we're gonna put a posse together, we gotta do it right, which means taking it to Maria. Take cover!
Demons?
Both.
So you know about the meeting coming up. Can I count on you?
The council won't make up their mind until we hear people speak. And no one's gonna vote for angry.
No one's going to vote for angry. That matters so much. If you think about it, life in general, Joel was angry because he was sad and he did not want to acknowledge his sadness. It was too difficult for him to feel. So the anger instead turned to defense. And in order to defend the pain that he was feeling, he had to replace his daughter with someone new. And he did that. And what ultimately ended up being the consequence of that decision for Joel? He ended up dying. Someone ended up killing him because he ended up killing. So it makes sense that a council who's supposed to make a decision for a large group of people is not going to make that decision emotionally. They are going to make that decision based on the betterment and the safety of all people. And someone who is only thinking through their anger is not going to be able to make the most logical decision to save other human beings, because all they're thinking about is the human being that they lost. And we have seen this in this show over and over again. The first season was filled with people only making these decisions. And now we're seeing that society has begun to form. We have to have systems in place to have routine, consistency, and the ability to expect what is going to happen next, and the ability to actually protect ourselves on a large scale. So maybe Ellie should spend a little bit more time with Gail.
I lost my sister that day. A lot of people in here buried family.
Forgive and be forgiven. Sons of bitches don't deserve our mercy. They'll come back because we didn't make them pay.
A lot of differing points right now, but there's really something to point out about what Seth is saying. Ellie is a little confused because she ultimately wrote off Seth completely, you can tell. Ellie hasn't quite shared her perspective yet, but obviously Tommy and Ellie have set up this whole thing to decide if 16 people from Jackson should go to Seattle to try to get this revenge for Joel. But Seth has showed himself to be someone who struggles when any form of intimacy that he doesn't accept is showing in reality, exists in reality. There is this defense against any emotion that brings him discomfort. So this was a way for Seth unconsciously to become recognized in his pack, in his group, and to stay the same, to stay with this rigid outer shell that just defends at the sight or the experience of an emotion that makes him uncomfortable.
I swear, if someone hurts any of you or the people you love, you can count on me. But I am asking you, please.
And execute them. See, that is where Ellie's argument made sense when it came to it's not about vengeance, it's not about revenge, it is about justice. That I can understand. And it seemed like Gail could understand that too. It makes sense that she wants justice, that Ellie wants justice. But killing all of the people that killed Joel is not justice, because there was a reason that Abby, at least, did what it is that she did. And that's why justice involves a court. It involves a jury. And it typically involves not inflicting the same amount of pain that was inflicted based on the situation at hand, because there were circumstances and other variables at play that should be considered before deciding the severity of the consequence that the person should face. So I don't know what the council is going to do, because justice, again, makes sense, but the way that they're going about it doesn't.
The vote is 8-3. The proposal is rejected.
I thought to myself, it's probably been extra busy these last few weeks. Brutal.
I'm supposed to see a shrink myself, to process it all. It's
Yeah.
I'm the only one here.
That's so true. Therapists are supposed to have therapists. Why? Because therapists are human beings. We have a body that is affected by other people's emotions. We have a brain that has thoughts that shift based off of what it is that we're told life is like for other people. We have to work on maintaining our internal sense of self and maintaining our internal perspective on the world when people are sitting in front of us explaining their suffering day in and day out, explaining the horrible things that human beings do to other human beings. We are told about the systems in the world that cause unnecessary suffering. And we see people that we start to truly, truly care about, because therapists do not just care because they're paid. It's a really difficult job to watch people in their pain and help them through it, in the same way that an emergency room doctor has to bear through like the screams and the blood and the difficulty of like replacing people's bones and like helping them with burns. Is like you're dealing with this human emotion that you just don't want this human to be experiencing. And it can be really difficult when someone feels trapped in their mind or trapped in their life or trapped in their relationship or doesn't see their kids enough and struggles with panic or depression. It can weigh on you. And as a human, it's important that we have our ability to process too. Not that our clients affect us so significantly that we need to go see a therapist because of that, but that therapists deserve to see therapists just simply because we are holding so much more human emotion than the average human, because that is our job. It is our job to do so, to take emotion in, to take life in, and to transmute it and give it back to you in a way that's helpful, to be a mirror for you to see what it is that you are suffering through and to see that you can in fact make it through it. But in order to be that mirror, we have to be able to absorb it and relay it back and to not actually take it in. So I love that she's saying this, and maybe that is the reason why she's drinking so much. Who the hell would be able to handle this much shit from people in this type of world? Like, how do you reconcile with the fact that people turned into zombies, almost everybody died, and now you're the only therapist left on the planet, seemingly? That sounds like that would be very, very difficult.
Oh, well, I'm an alcoholic, and I smoke as much weed as I can. You know, complete fucking disaster.
I'm nervous she's gonna do something stupid.
What, you didn't believe her speech?
The difference between lying and being a liar.
Oh, I know. And that one? Liar.
Was Ellie lying? You know, when I watched her speech, I didn't think she was lying. Maybe lying to herself, but I don't think she was trying to just lie to other people. I guess we'll see if that's what ended up happening. And maybe I'm just a therapist that gives everyone the benefit of the doubt and sees the greater good that is the potential. I still think that there is a part of Ellie that was really tugging at her own heartstrings to get people to understand how much she loved Joel, but she didn't actually say that. She said that she wanted to get justice. And again, that wasn't justice. So in a way, was she lying? Sure. But to everybody on purpose, I don't know.
Just don't want her to go down the same paths that Joel did.
So you think she might have learned that behavior from him? Turns out nurture can only do this much. Some people just can't be saved.
Damn. Some people just can't be saved. I feel like there are so many people waiting to see my reaction specifically to that statement right there. I would say that I would agree to that only to a certain extent, and that extent being sometimes people really just cannot get out of their own way. And it is because the pain is so significant. The pain is at its core. When Gail is saying that Joel did not make Ellie like this, I completely agree with Gail. We know Ellie's mother. We know the strength that she had to battle against things that were literally trying to kill her. And sometimes there are human emotions that feel like they are literally going to kill us. And we defend against those. And we defend against those so hard that we become an Ellie, that we become a Joel, that we become all of the people that we've seen making this exact same decision that literally took their life because they could not change or transmute that emotion that they were experiencing, that grief and that loss, into something adaptive, into something that would save their life instead of take it.
What's your plan?
Go to Seattle and kill Abby.
Once we're out, we follow the Snake River Canyon, then break off through the Snoqualmie Pass. Shoot your damn ass off.
Heard that before?
Trade, you're the one that gave the us speech, not me.
It's so interesting how people in this show, or should I say human beings in real life, how we can put certain emotions aside to have other emotions validated. So obviously Ellie and Dina both are probably pretty pissed off at Seth's perspective of their relationship and their intimacy. However, they're able to put that aside when Seth can align with the vengeance, revenge, and the type of justice that they are seeking. We should pay attention to the fact that we do this as human beings, that our values and what we say we will and will not do adjust depending upon our goals. And that's totally fine. We have functioned that way since the beginning, but we need to be aware that that is how we function so that we can make the decision about whether or not we actually do want to shift our values or shift our perspective based on letting this emotion go to solidify that one. Great acting. She showed what can happen as emotions move through you when you're grieving. There are the stages of grief, but honestly, people go through the stages in many different ways, in completely different orders, and there are so many other emotions that arise through the process of grief too. What I saw was Ellie having an emotion of like gratitude, feeling this love and these memories with Joel, and then moved into sadness that those memories no longer take place and that the person that she's thanking and feels gratitude for is no longer there. So from gratitude and thankfulness to sadness to the awareness that sadness is there. And when the awareness of sadness arose, then it became a defense almost instantly. She blunted the emotion and she held it. Instead of allowing it to flow through her and for her to feel it, she is holding that sadness and is upset about it and is now stuck again in that sadness to where she walks away stone-faced and is just on the next path to getting that justice, the vengeance and revenge that she's seeking.
First person you killed.
Okay, well, the first one's too fucked up, but I can tell you the second one. This kid, maybe just a couple years older than me.
Sorry, Ellie.
Interesting. I shoot a guy and he feels sorry for me.
I shoot a guy and you feel sorry for me. Yes, because that is a terrifying experience. To take life should be terrifying, but the world that they live in doesn't make it terrifying. What's terrifying is that your life could be taken at any moment, and that's why justice is confusing. That's why Ellie believes that she is getting justice, that it is an eye for an eye, because frankly, it is an eye for an eye when you are up against the greatest danger that they have, which is that humans have turned into monsters that do not care about your emotions. And so if that is the context of the reality that they live in, do they have the opportunity to make space for their emotions? Maybe in the walls of Jackson, but again, even those walls can come down.
New Year's Eve, the kid. And you were drunk.
Right, so it doesn't mean anything.
I don't know, I've never seen it before.
Abby and her crew did this to people, to kids.
Okay. I actually really appreciated that episode didn't have a bunch of action and fighting because there was just so much in the last episode. And now let's just move straight into episode 4.
You. Come with me.
That moment was so important because the look that Ellie had on her face when she was looking at Joel's grave, the look that Ellie had on her face when she was looking at Joel on the porch. It's the love and the kindness and the liveliness and the beauty and the connection that she had with Joel that is this soft, precious part of her that does exist. It does exist. And that's so important to show in this show and to show throughout the through line of Ellie, because underneath these defenses is the potential and the person who is capable of connection and doing different. The lyric of that song, "It's no better to be safe than sorry," resonates so much with Ellie's logic. And at the same time, she just feels, and she's protecting that Ellie. The defenses are protecting that Ellie. That Ellie is the one that loved Joel, the one that isn't defensive and can be hurt. Therefore, the one that needs defending.
To kill children?
You kill our children.
Never by choice.
Because you broke the truth.
Because you broke it, because we broke it. I'm not playing your little chicken and egg games today, Scar.
This sounds like the logic behind every war that this planet has experienced. Human beings create war, and human beings are not capable of managing their emotions. Human beings will hurt other people because they are hurt, and then those people that got hurt then become the people that hurt because they've been hurt. It is this vicious cycle. Chicken or the egg, which one came first? An eye for an eye. We aren't going to get out of the mess that we create for ourselves as human beings if we don't allow ourselves to feel our feelings. That may sound like something that a therapist would typically say, but it is so incredibly true. When we cause pain to other people because we are experiencing pain that we cannot process, we start this vicious cycle of killing and engaging in an eye for an eye. The chicken or the egg doesn't matter. What matters is that on both sides, there is pain that can be transmuted into something better. The problem is that you cannot have every single human being on the planet be able to transmute pain in a way where they can just integrate it and become better people, because pain hurts. And the human condition is to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. And sometimes revenge and vengeance is pleasure. And sometimes the pain doesn't even have to be physical. It can be emotional. Sometimes emotional pain is even harder to process than physical pain is. And emotional pain is processed in similar parts of the brain as physical pain. And so it can hurt as much, if not more, because then you have the emotional aspect on top of it or right alongside it. This argument that is taking place, if they can't figure it out, then any two people that are placed in the same position as them is going to have difficulty figuring it out, because as much as we are different, we are the same. And so think about this in the context of the reality that we are actually living in today on this planet. All of the wars that we get into, all of the border concerns that we're having, all of the clashes that we have, even in family members at dinner parties, where they just, you hurt me, no, you hurt me first. And it's just, it never ends, because who is saying that? You hurt me. Who is saying that? You hurt me first. It is just pain that they cannot handle. It is an emotional state that they are rejecting, and therefore they are pushing it outward. It is an emotional state that they are rejecting. So not only are they pushing it outward, but they want to ignore that emotion by causing a situation that is so extreme outside of that emotion that they don't even have to think about it.
I will burn every part of you until you tell me what I want to know!
So see what happened there. The Scar put out his hand, therefore saying to him that you're not actually causing me pain anymore. You're not the one in control. You can't ignore the emotion that I just set into your mind, that I am taking people away from you by causing me more pain, because I actually want you to do it because it's not as bad as what you are going to experience soon. So he put fear in him. And that fear could not be transmuted into pain onto him, because he was saying, this isn't even affecting me in the way that you think that it is. Go ahead and do it again. And that emotion of fear, of feeling like, what if he's right? What if I am going to lose? He couldn't handle it. And so he had to do the only thing that he could think of doing that would make him feel powerful and in control, and to cause an emotion onto that other person, which in turn was death, which isn't really an emotion. But that's why he had to do that. It was smart of him to do. He risked his life to do it, but he ultimately accomplished his goal, was to ingrain fear that could not be removed, and he did it well. Now, this other guy has definitely grown into the philosophy of Wolf. He has changed. He has become hardened. And you can see that happen to so many people over the course of time, depending on what they've been through, including Ellie. And I wonder if we'll see Dina sort of transform in this way as well. She still seems so novice and elementary and innocent, but I have a feeling that that's going to change as the season goes on. These people.
I'm immune. I can't get infected. A lot of times I wish this wasn't true.
A lot of the times I wish that wasn't true. It's just such a critical statement to focus on for a moment because, of course, that is what Ellie thinks. Ellie has lost so much as a result of being immune. She has been isolated from the rest of the humans that have made it through this apocalypse. She had Joel lose his life because of a complication regarding Ellie's immunity. There are so many reasons that her immunity could feel like a burden as much as it feels like a gift. And to grapple with that mentally and psychologically is something that I think would be so incredibly difficult. And especially because she thought, okay, I am the solution to all of this. But then Joel ultimately tells her that she's not, that there are other people like her. And so is it a burden or is it a gift? Now, Dina having to trust Ellie is interesting. I feel like there's probably an aspect of Dina that trusts Ellie because Ellie and Joel had a specific relationship. Joel was Tommy's brother. Tommy was married to Maria, and they were the top of the council, the top of the society that they've created. And there was always this unknown reason why Joel and Ellie became close, and also why they have had so much discord. No one has really understood it. And so I feel like whether this is conscious in Dina's mind at the moment, unconsciously, this is a new fact that may put the pieces together. And I obviously she's going to see it through because we are in episode 4.
I'm pregnant.
That was shocking. I'm like, wait, what? Ellie is admitting something that is so vulnerable. The definition of vulnerability is the potential to be hurt physically or emotionally, to be vulnerable to pain, and to be vulnerable to literally being killed. So Ellie makes this statement of admittance. And it is transformative for Dina to the point where Dina makes a statement of admittance, something that is also a secret that she's been holding in that is so vulnerable. Vulnerability plus vulnerability equals the desire to connect intimately about that vulnerability and to feel not alone in the secret and the pain and the struggle and the suffering that you carry. That union was beautiful.
You said it was a burn. You did it to yourself? I knew how you felt about me. When I was little, I told my mother I liked boys and I liked girls. She said, no. Not everyone's as brave as you. I'm not brave. I'm just obvious.
When Ellie says, I'm not brave, I'm just obvious, Ellie has had to deal with life or death for so incredibly long. And she was able to express her sexuality when she was engaging with Riley because they were alone in a moment. And Ellie did not have these perceptions of sexuality, pro or con, for or against, in her upbringing. And so she doesn't hold the same resentment towards her own emotions. Not that she necessarily would have resented them in the first place, but that there would have been this infusion of you can't be yourself, and the fact that you are is a problem in the same way that it resides in Dina's mind. What a beautiful, beautiful conversation.
You don't have to go.
Fuck you.
Will you please just think about it?
Two more incredible episodes. I absolutely love this show. The characters are continuing to develop. I'm excited to learn more about Isaac, continue to learn about Gale. It is wild that there is now a baby actively in the story. They've had kids and babies all throughout both of these seasons to emphasize life and the desire to keep life going. And now that life is in Ellie's hands. It's in Dina's hands. It's in Jesse's hands. And it is a vital part of this show to see how Ellie is going to handle protecting her child in the way that Joel couldn't protect his and then tried nothing more than to protect his makeshift child. Please subscribe if you made it to this point in the episode. Please hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when our next episode comes out. And as always, I am so glad that you exist. I am glad we don't live in an apocalyptic world, and I hope that your world doesn't feel like an apocalypse right now. You can expect me next week, and please do what you can to take care of yourself because you deserve it. See you next time.